Hey, everybody, it's Friday night. Let's get ready to Bombcast Revengeance.
Jan, if you die during an episode of the podcast, I'm going to feel terrible. All right? Are you okay?
We'll remember it forever in our hearts and dreams.
I'm going to remember you no matter how you
Jan,
die.
If you die during this podcast, can I have your Pokemon cards?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can have my Pokemon cards.
Hell yeah.
Can I have the popcorn buckets?
You can have the popcorn buckets.
I don't need anything from you other than the memories we shared together.
No, I need the stuff.
I'll bequeath you any of my handhelds.
Oh, no, shit. Never mind. Hell yeah.
You know what? You get my Game Gear with battery acid on like the left door pad.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of
Thank
handhelds, you know what I got?
What's up?
A Roger Ally X.
Oh, you got one too?
Ah, nice.
Yeah, the young aces were like, "You want this? You want to check it out?" And I was like, "You know what? I use my Ally a lot. Let me see what this X is about." It's pretty good. It's really good.
Battery life better, yes or no?
Battery life is better.
Yeah, that's all
That's
really all I need from that thing
It is
now.
much better.
I hate using Windows still, but I've accepted what it is. And
Yeah. I feel like it's slightly heavier than the Ally as well, which I kind of
right.
like. It's got a little more like weight to it, so it feels easier to like. It feels more satisfying to hold.
it like grips
but
in your hands a little bit easier, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But so far, it's weird how much I use the Ally. And now I've got my Ally X. I'm like very excited. It's black as well, so you can't see my grubby fingerprints. You can't tell how long I've been using
hell?
it. Yeah,
That's what he said. Oh, I love my ROG Ally and talk about it a lot on podcasts. And yet wasn't offered an X. That's okay. But yeah,
Again, I told Dan just like, hey, do you have a contact? I'm like, yeah, just try. And they sent him one and accidentally sent him a Zephyrus G14 laptop, which owns. I've been like eyeing one of those,
shit.
and they just sent him one on accident and told him to
get
keep
that
it.
contact from you.
Is
so.
that
Yeah, I'll hook
is
you
that
up,
a
man.
Kingdom Hearts character, a Zephyrus?
Yes.
Yeah, it was with an X in there somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, I have to figure out what the real name
Beautiful.
is by removing the X and arranging the letters.
Anyways,
Folks at home, I bequeath you another episode of the Bombcast Revengeance. I'm not feeling too great, but the pod must continue. Hold on, I'm just gonna take this Vapo inhaler real quick.
Man, you don't feel good? You sound great though.
Yeah, this is the best
I'm
you've ever
like-
sound.
You know when you're sick and you start sweating out of places like you didn't think you sweat out of. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
the
"Oh,
taint."
yeah."
Yeah.
Yes, oh
The
god,
gooch.
we can't keep
The meaty
bringing
flesh
up-
bridge.
All right, well, Tam, we have you for a limited amount of time, so let's talk about what is cultivated the taint of the internet and why everyone is so fucking mad about everyone that occupies the meaty flesh bridge of Twitter. Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I'm really excited about this game.
I mean, I can't tell you why people are. I mean, I know why, but I can't tell you why, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I played the Veilguard, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, formerly known as.
There's no the.
No, there's a the.
There's a the.
There shouldn't be.
Formerly known as Dreadwolf,
That's right.
as a reference to Solus, aka the Dreadwolf. Yeah, very interesting experience for me. I went in with I've had pretty low expectations of Dragon Age: The Veilguard for a little while, and that's owing largely to the kind of very public and slightly tumultuous time that
Tumultuous.
Tumultuous, yeah.
tumultuous time that BioWare has been having lately. And I wrote a preview about this, and it's up on GameSpot.com, and there's a video version on YouTube.com/GameSpot. But like, I feel like my expectations were put in check by everything that was happening at BioWare, which I think is fair to a degree. You like the talent that has made the games that you love exiting or coming and going, that kind of stuff. It makes you question whether the next thing they're going to make is gonna hit. And then also like the new Dragon Age has been in development for so long that as the longer a game is in development, the more likely that it is going to be a bit of a mess. You know, there are obviously exceptions to that. You know, Last Guardian being one of them, for example, and various others. But yeah, so I went in there. I saw it at Summer Game Fest, and I was like, I described it as suspiciously good looking, which made me think like, oh, this.
That's all of us.
I was like, this feels like it might be a very, very polished, very, very curated, guided demo. So I came out and I was like, it looks really good, but I'm also very suspicious of it. So when I went to this, I was like, all right, let's see what this thing is. And still very, very curated. We had selections of kind of like chunks of missions to play that were taken from different parts of Act 1. But I was surprised at how good it felt in those periods. Again, caveat. It might end up being completely different. That could be a very, very well polished area of the game that we looked at, but I can only call it as the way I saw it.
Right.
I know there's people who are out there that are being like, why is no one looking at this critically? It's because, I mean, the stuff that I saw was very good. So if you want me to just like randomly shit on a thing just to tick a box that is like was critical of thing also, fuck off. I'm not doing that. Like I saw what I saw and that it is what it is. And there was nothing in there that made me think, oh, this is sketchy. This is real sketchy.
Yeah.
Everything that I saw was like, it stuck out to me as being like very well executed. And I think I mentioned this in my preview, but I think a lot of that does come from the fact that it's been in development for a while. So they probably polished the shit out of this part of the game and also maybe the game as a whole. But also it feels like they know what they're doing now. I feel like Dreadwolf was the last. Inquisition felt like it was trying to be a game for like the time it was released, like an open world RPG, and it didn't really stick that landing, and they didn't do it justice, and they weren't quite like experienced with making open world RPGs. This is a step back. It feels like it is a little more mission based, and it has like a hub area that people go in and out of, and the world still feels pretty big, but also more controlled, and feels like they know that they need to get you into the good stuff as soon as possible, and they do that by curating areas instead of having larger spaces that have a lot of downtime, or like you're just kind of like using for the sake of having them. So a lot of the stuff that I did was very focused. That whether that was like dungeon crawling, or doing like actual conversational stuff, or even a little bit of light platforming stuff. And I did it with characters that immediately stuck out to me as being characters that I would like to learn more about or see where they go. Lace Harding is one of my favorite characters in the Dragon Age universe, and she's a main character. She's part of your crew right now.
That's a good name.
Yeah, Lead Scout Harding, she was called in Inquisition.
Is that the dwarf or somebody else?
Yes.
Ah, yeah, she's cool.
She's really cool. And there were others, like Nev is a kind of like magic wielding private detective. So she has like a noir vibe to her going, and is really cool. And then there's other characters, another guy that we went on a mission to rescue, who's basically called the Demon of Varantium, I think it is. And he's known for being like, he's able to bring like blood magicians and like high powerful elves and gods to their knees. But he's just like, he's like this mythical figure that we're trying to find. He's kind of like Archangel / Garrus at the beginning of Mass Effect 2, where you're like, we've heard that there's this dude who's too legit to quit. We need to find him. But the whole quest around him is like, you go to meet like his grandmother, who's the head of like this faction that is in the game, and she's like, he's dead. And the other one's like, "Aw." But then she's like, except I don't think the body I got back was him. I think that it was blood magic used to make that body look like my nephew.
I'm in.
I think
Classic
he's alive.
blood magic.
Yep.
Yeah. So then you're like, okay, what if I went and busted this fool out wherever he is? When I bring him back, can I use his powers to maybe fight these elven gods that are running amok? And she's like, I'll think about it. Let's see what happens. And off you go to like do this mission. So it's kind of like a loyalty mission in a lot of ways from Mass Effect.
Yeah.
And I really, really like that. But the thing that stuck out to me most, which was interesting given that for me, a lot of the times in BioWare games, the thing I most look forward to is the conversations, the kind of like decision-making moments, that kind of stuff. The stuff in between can be fun. Like I enjoyed Mass Effect 2's combat. I really like Mass Effect 3's combat because I think that's where they really hit the sweet spot. And, parts of Dragon Age's combat, especially one in the CRPG, more feeling kind of era, like I enjoyed that kind of stuff. This feels like a game where even if I think of it as like, even if the rest of it is kind of okay at best, the gameplay seems like it's good enough to carry me through a significant portion of it. And it's a lot more inspired, I think, and paced like Dragon Age 2, which was the more action-focused game entry in the series. But it's still got a lot of that RPG depth, where a lot of it comes from having a class and then having like a specialty within the class that feels very, very either complementary or different to what you're doing. So in my mage, for example, build, I had a staff, which is mage staff, cool. You use spells and that kind of stuff, but you can hit a button and I would go into a different specialty version where instead of having a staff, I've got a knife, like a very small knife. And I've got this like floating orb around me that is like magically imbuing my knife attacks with elemental damage. So it means that I can be a mage and be like far off, chuck my spells. But if it comes to it and I'm like either pinned down or that I need to like get in an enemy's face, I can switch this other version of the mage, get real up close, use my like blocking, my dashes and like my rolls to get in close. Even parry, which is wild, like you can parry moves and like create opportunities to like slow down the enemy and get in there and like do some big damage with a knife, and that's really cool. And there's other characters that do like these wild and wacky things. Like there's the equivalent of what is effectively a magical Captain America shield, where like you throw this relic and it just like bounces between enemies and then comes back to you. And then
I
like,
love that shit in games
that,
so much.
That is like a very interesting approach. Like your thief, for example, my rogue, started off being two blades, and I was just like getting in everyone's faces, moving around. But then you can switch to like a ranged like bow and arrow version of your rogue, so you can do like really heavy strikes to like pin enemies down. Or you can have like a gadget focused mage rogue, which is like leaving stuff around to control the battlefield around a little more. And that is like a lot of depth to it. It's all real time, but it also has that pause element where you can bring up the radio menu and be like, I'm going to use like Nev's ability to create this like time bubble where everyone inside it slows it down, which means like I'm going to do that, switch to my knife mage, get in real close, get to stabbing, and then get out. And like there's loads of like, there's also like combo abilities where you bring up the radio menu and it'll be like, hey, it will like specifically call out two abilities and be like, these two combo together, so you should try it. And then when you do it, it will give you like a flashy animation and like up the damage.
That's
so you
cool.
definitely have, it gives you a reason to get into the radio menu. And I think the radio menu is also where like it will tell you more information about enemies as you learn them. So instead of having all the like weaknesses and shit like that overlaid every time you encounter an enemy, you can bring up the radio menu and it will be there in the middle instead. So it's a very good back and forth between the kind of active portion of the game where it's like action focused, and then also the strategic part of it where it's a little slower paced, and you're having the ability to like plot your path before you like jump in there and do it. But I found that stuff really, really cool. And that was like, unfortunately, like I played 6 hours of it, but I was still on a time limit, so I didn't really get a chance to like go back and switch classes and like figure out the intricacies, or even like do things like work in a different weapon or like an armor and see how that works. I did get up to a point with, I know Lucy was there as well, and she did the same thing where as the, I think it was the rogue, or maybe, yeah, I think the rogue or the mage, one of those two. Well, I basically had a necrotic blade where I'd put like a necromancy kind of attribute on my blade. So I was like doing crazy chip damage, and then I could put down a turret, get in there, use my necrotic blade, use the turret to kind of pin them down and keep them locked in place, and then like string together these wild like abilities. And it felt like it had a decent amount of depth, and it also felt good. Not in the way that Dragon Age 2 felt like it was an RPG game trying to be a action game. This felt more like an action game. It has that stickiness, slight stickiness to get you at enemies' faces quicker. I described it as being kind of like Batman, but you're not like going as far as Batman does when you hit a button and he like glides across the room.
Sure.
But you have just enough to be like, you're not whiffing attacks constantly. You have to like, and then you're able to move between enemies a little better. You've got the dodges and parries and that kind of stuff. So feels and is responsive more like an action game. So that is like,
you still feel like the RPG elements over top of all this, right?
yes,
Is what you were saying.
I feel like the RPG elements on top of it, you still have to mix in your own magical abilities to make sure that you're mixing things up. Enemies appear with like overshields. So like as the mage, I was switching to this like beam that I would use to like really chip away at the shields and break that down. Because if you don't do that, they just keep recovering the shields, and the harder enemies become harder. So you need to like prioritize.
Okay.
So I would like use Nev to put a slowdown bubble, hold that enemy in place, use my shield breaking abilities, get rid of that, and then like everyone else would just pile on the damage. I could like have one of my other characters like launch themselves into the air and do like an overhead strike. So I feel like there's a good synergy between all these parts, at least in the part that I played. And that was just with like a couple of characters.
That's encouraging. Like, one of my concerns, because when I saw like the preview of it at Summer Game Fest, like I definitely took away how pretty it looked and how interesting the characters seemed. But that was like the first hour of the game, so the combat was very simple, of course. And like Dragon Age's Inquisition's combat felt fine to me, but from what I remember, it also felt a bit like, attack, and then when your abilities come off cooldown, use those abilities. So having a bit more depth there would definitely be welcome.
And like there is ways to like skill trees. You have a core skill tree, so a rogue has a rogue skill tree, but then you have 3 specialist skill trees as well, and you can switch between the specializations, not mid combat, but there are, I believe I'm correct in saying that there's points where you can be like, I'm going to switch to this specialization now. So there is also like ways to improve stuff like, my cooldowns are quicker, I get more damage if I'm attacking this type of enemy, etc., etc. So it does have the kind of RPG focused upgrade paths as well, which is really, really cool. And also like I also like the way the world looks. It definitely had a almost Fortnite-y like polishedness and cartooniness to it at a time. I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay. But I think that's intentional because it allows them to be a little more diverse with the color palette. Like the area that you start off is Minrathous, which is kind of like the capital city of the Tevinter Empire, and it looks like so bright and visually colorful compared to like Inquisition. I remember Inquisition being like a yellow game, even though there are different parts of it.
Some green.
Yeah, yellow and green was what I remember. With like Minrathous immediately is like purple and greens and neon and that kind of stuff, and I feel like that style allows them to be a little more kind of like diverse with how they style areas, in the same way that it's kind of like, we can use a comic book aesthetic to make everything look wild and wacky and fantastical, and it works. And like Minrathous looked really cool, and then like above you is like the Archon's palace, which is like giant floating ship that is like bit like Eye of Sauron, and it's like got these massive searchlights looking for people around, and you're like, oh, okay. But then there's like a forest area where it's like ruins and nature is like thriving again there, but there's also like busted down like magical artifacts and stuff like that, so there's elements of magic knocking around, and I thought it looked really nice. I was surprised. And also like character models look really good. The hair is wild. Like,
it looks good. I'm looking at a video right now. I was noticing like the stylization that you're talking about of like all the characters being able to like look very different and kind of like very diet Fortnite. Reminds me of like fantasy games we'd get on the GameCube and stuff like that, but obviously like way more high quality. But then the lighting and the materials, including the hair, look really good.
It kind of strikes me as a balance between what World of Warcraft actually looks like and what the World of Warcraft movie wound up looking like.
Pretty much, yeah. But like overall, I went in there with pretty low expectations. I'm naturally quite a cynical person, so I went in there thinking this is probably where I start poking holes in it. And most of what I played, like I was just like, I'm having a great time with this. I wish I could play more. I wish I didn't have to like skip from point to point. Like the sections that I was skipping between weren't like, oh, you played 10 minutes of this, now move on to this. It was like between an hour and a half to 2 hours per section, and it was just a case of like we want you to get a different kind of stage of your character's like power levels. So that's why we're skipping you around, so you know what it feels like to be a more powerful character and lower. And also like they switched it up so they had different classes available there.
Okay.
So I came away feeling like quite excited about it. The story is the main part that I'm like not 100% sure about yet. It seems like it's interesting. They're kind of like I wrote in my preview that they know that they have a lot of nostalgia to work with, but they also know they need to create a interesting kind of like story that it ties things together. So they have already mentioned, oh, the Inquisitor is going to pop up at some point. They announced Morrigan's returning. So I'm intrigued to see where that goes. But so far, what I've seen has been encouraging more than anything. And again, qualification, preview event. Maybe I've been hoodwinked, but I called it like I saw it. I came out of there thinking that was really cool. Like that was everything I want from a BioWare game. And ultimately, having left that, if this turns out to be as good as it is, it seems like it also makes me excited about BioWare and a new Mass Effect as well, which is maybe it's copium, but like I kind of need that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean that
No.
team's been through a lot, and I remember talking early on about BioWare, and people talk like wonder what the future was, and everyone being so down. And I'm like, I don't know. Everyone that's like seems to be moving up at that place are all the people that like went through fire in terms of like rescuing Star Wars: The Old Republic and all these other things, and they did all this hard work to get all these games into really good places. And those are the people in charge now. Obviously, there's a lot of people who have been working on Mass Effect and Dragon Age for a very long time, still in key positions. But it's like I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of people there that really care about the future of BioWare in charge, and so I always felt pretty positive. And it's nice to see. I mean, Sam, you're not alone. Every preview is coming out. Everyone's positive. I was like checking out like some more of the cynical YouTubers that are like that cover nothing but computer RPGs and BioWare and stuff like that. And they went to the event, and even they're like, "This is the first BioWare game I've been looking forward to since Mass Effect 3." So there's reasons to be positive.
The people I spoke to there were like other people playing it. We were all kind of like, is it just me or is this like good? And everyone was like, kind of like, I think it's good. So everyone was surprised. And then I did an interview with like the director and one of the producers, and there was a confidence in the way they spoke about the game that made me feel like, oh, they've got a grip on this. They know what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Maybe that final product isn't great, but at the very least, at the end of it, that team can say, we had a clear idea, we executed an idea, either worked, didn't work, or some people liked it.
Tam, looks like we're at the end of our time with you,
We are.
buddy.
Before I go, I saw
Yes.
one question pop up from
Please.
Splodge, and the question was like, do you know if they have the hinterland issue? They very specifically said like we were aware of the hinterland issue and we did everything we can to avoid that. So I think the opening area is just like you get in and get the hell out of there quickly.
It seems like they are very cognizant of avoiding fat on the
Yes.
meat here. They're
Yes,
just giving you all lean, all mean, and that seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to play it. It's a game that I was like, I'm gonna play it, but I'll just keep an eye on it. And then now it's gone to like I'm one of my most anticipated games. So I mean, I love BioWare games. I love RPG games. So this is in my
Exciting.
wheelhouse already. But I'm excited to like sit down with it and like spend some time in Dragon Age again.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Folks, we're gonna take a quick break just to say goodbye to Tam in private and say our pleasantries, and then we'll be back with the Grand Canyon right after this break.
everyone's the same. If you regret, reset the game. Not all the time in the world, but you may have potential. Show 'em what you're capable of. You do you, nothing left to lose. Gave you boost, I'm there with expertise. Inspire great stories. Don't just stop facing the crowd.
I got a question for you boyos here.
Hi.
All right. When is like it too late to get into a show? Like
Never?
I think the show is like done. I'm assuming, but then I just saw a blooper reel or like a highlight reel of a show, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna get into this.
I think most of the shows I watched after they went off air.
He's, he's a reverse hipster.
Yeah.
He waits for
I
them
like
to be
that.
uncool, then gets into them.
Yeah.
Because did anything happen with Danny McBride? Is Danny McBride like?
I think we're still mostly okay on Danny McBride. I think Danny McBride has been even since it being introduced.
Okay, because I just saw a video of him in Eastbound Down just going fixins.
Oh, I think Eastbound and Down is one that you can get into at any moment.
Okay, because
I think that's going to be a good investment because I think you're going to be able to make a lot of references there that people will appreciate.
cool. I think we should just incorporate fixins into everything.
Okay.
Like in terms of like side dishes and southern food. That
Yeah,
kind of
but
fixins?
we can also like put our own spin on it. Fixins of the year. That could be one of our category, and we
yeah,
can figure out what
like-
that means for games.
Like, man,
hungry.
this Astrobot, he got a lot of fixins.
The Astrobot definitely has a lot of fixins.
Yeah.
Like you have to like, it's like you,
Fixins.
it's like you stumbled with one of your legs as you're saying it. Like,
It's like,
fixins.
or you're doing like a little jig. I'm gonna get me some fixins.
Oh yeah, a little jig. It's good.
Yeah.
Hey, I listened to the voicemail dub truck y'all did yesterday. What the hell
Yeah.
happened?
It was great.
You weren't
That's
there.
good
What do you
content.
mean? That's what happened.
Good. You're welcome. Good content, right?
It's great content. One of the best. Every voicemail dub truck is the new best voicemail.
Yeah, it's better and better every time.
Okay, Jen, I have to ask you this because like Jeff just wants to goof, and you can't take him seriously sometimes.
He can't bring up the Kingdom Hearts Halloween.
Not that.
Okay.
I don't know what his issue was there.
It's not a satisfactory explanation. I'm still shoot hot.
Yeah, characters dress up in costumes for Halloween. There it is.
Yeah, no, cool, totally. You're just like, that explains Kingdom Hearts. All right, whatever.
Kingdom
Go
Hearts is
ahead.
very popular, so that's the one they chose because everybody really likes when they go in their Kingdom Hearts outfits. There you go.
Mike, your question,
Okay.
please.
You don't think there's any remote chance that Rosalina is more
No.
popular than Minnie
course
Mouse?
he
Like,
does.
come
no
on.
way.
Come
There is no
on.
way.
Like, come on.
Like, you could ask me that. I would have shot straight
Well,
with you.
at the time of the podcast, you did. At the time you're like, maybe Dan has a point because you thought it
we
was
could send-
funny.
It was
we could
funny.
send the gimmicks on assignment. Have them roll up with 2 pieces of paper or like 2 jars.
Yeah, I
One
can have him
with
take it to
Rosalina,
second grade.
Like one with
Yeah.
Rosalina, one with Minnie Mouse, and give them a bag of jelly beans.
Yeah.
And then like, hey, put in the jar who you recognize sooner. And it's gonna be Minnie Mouse. Minnie Mouse is gonna take the jelly beans. Anyway, Jeff Grubb,
So-
you went to the Grand Canyon.
I went to the Grand Canyon. Yes, we talked about this in a couple places, but it was a good time. It was a really fun trip. It was great to hang out with Vinny. Saw a lot of people from the industry, though. It was nice. For as quick as the trip was, flying one day, then hang out all day, like doing stuff for Flight Simulator, and then flying home first thing the next morning at like 2 a.m. It was still nice because it's like, we were doing enough things together that there was plenty of time to talk to people and hang out. But yeah, I played Flight Simulator and I had a good time with it. They like gave a presentation. There's a couple things I haven't mentioned yet. The biggest headache with Flight Simulator 2020, I think most people would say, is simply installing the game. Like just actually installing it, because what it is, you download a gigabyte file from Steam or whatever, the Microsoft Store, and then that gives you a client. And then that client is like, okay, here it is. Here's 150 gigabytes, and it's not necessarily coming from the fastest servers in the world. And 2 hours later, maybe you're playing the game. And it was really 2 hours. I think that turned a lot of people off. And of course, the team hated that. They knew that this was a big pain point. So they do have a solution this time. And the install process is much closer to like 10 to 15 minutes this time. And the solution is almost everything is going to get streamed in from the cloud. Just about like all the planes, the Earth, the digital twin, all the airports, everything is hosted in the cloud. So that means that you can boot up the game, start playing, fly anywhere, and the game will just stream it in sort of seamlessly. And it does, all that stuff works. Now, when I say that, do you guys have any reservations about what that might mean for the game?
I feel like, not that I don't trust streaming stuff into a game, but I worry about pop-in a lot. And then just like, ruining my immersion grub as I'm flying over a place and then like textures being loaded in improperly.
I guess there's no offline mode then.
Oh, yeah,
right?
that too.
So I think there might be ways to run it offline, but then you are going to have a greatly reduced version of the game. So I brought this up when I talked to Jorg, and I'm like, when I hear that, I get worried about, hey, like, can I use all my mods? And he's like, look, you can. There is going to be a folder in this game where you can put anything you want into that folder and run the game and tell it to use that stuff. And then it's going to be less optimized. It's going to run a little bit worse, but that's your choice, and you can still do that. So you still have all of the freedom of configuring the game how you want it to work from that side of things. Whether or not that then transfers to people being like, well, what if I wanted to install the entire game on my machine in that folder and have all the assets hosted locally? Well, there's a limit to that, obviously. But let's say you want to have all the planes in the airports. There's probably a way to do that. But it would be probably a little bit less performant based on what I saw, where there was no pop-in. There was no, it just ran great coming in from the cloud. Now, of course, I'm in a controlled environment, but it was a hotel that we were at, and not like one that's like the most technologically advanced hotel in the world. So I get the sense that this is relatively in line with how most people's experience is going to be. We'll be able to judge that better when it finally comes out. I got the sense that this is probably the best compromise, and the game will still work how most people want it to work. And the reality is, you could only install so much locally in the last one because the Earth was several petabytes of information. No one was installing that game locally. A lot of it was still streaming from the cloud, and they didn't have complaints for that stuff. It's just now they're also going to be streaming in the planes and all the other stuff.
Trains and automobiles.
The planes, trains, automobiles. And this also gives them, like, apparently more freedom to do stuff like, hey, they went to the Planet Zoo people, a team that they've worked with before.
Oh, Frontier.
Like, hey, yeah, can we have all of your animal models? And they took all the animal models from those games, and then they populated, like, Africa with giraffes and stuff like that. So now you could fly a plane over, and you're going to see herds of animals moving in real time. And it looks great. It's really, really cool. Yeah. And so a lot of that stuff was winning me over in terms of like, okay, if this is the compromise we have to make to be able to get this world to feel even more alive, I'm mostly okay with it, especially hearing that I'm going to have access to the folder where I can put any mod in there that I want, and they're not going to try to take that away from people, which was my concern. He's like, no, that was never even a conversation. This is how it's going to work.
You're just very precious about all of your Shrek mods.
I want my games to feel like they're mine, and that goes beyond like, ownership. No, I want to be able to like do whatever I want to this game, and I don't want the fact that anything's in the cloud to stand in the way, which feels like we're always kind of edging in that direction, and I'm like, I fear that future.
Grub, after going to this event, how tempted were you to get like a bigger setup to play like a flight simulator game or any other sim type of game?
Definitely, I'm like thinking about like what would I think is the ideal setup, and I was doing those F-18 challenge missions, and when I the run I put in the video is actually not my best run. It was a pretty good run, but I started losing time halfway through the run, like compared to the Ghost that I was going up against, which I think was the dev time, and I was like, what am I doing wrong here? And then I just kind of like, I am not using the foot pedals to sort of adjust to like the horizontal yaw or pitch or whatever of the thing. So I was like, once I started dialing that in and could feel myself doing these turns, like kind of pushing the plane against the air even harder, like sort of like when you push yourself against a wave in Wave Race, and it's like, okay, now it's going to push you in that direction even faster. Once I started dialing that in, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to play this game without having the foot pedals. Like I'm kind of really into this. So I started, I want the foot pedals, and if I'm going to get the foot pedals, maybe I would probably get a more intense HOTAS. I have this kind of very
Show me your
very-
HOTAS.
I have this very basic Thrustmaster HOTAS. There's the throttle, or there's the
worst
stick.
name.
There's the throttle. I got my hands on my throttle and my stick constantly. And it's fine. It works. But the one that they had me using was the Turtle Beach one that did have tons of buttons. And I'm like, it's fun to flip a switch. It's fun to like lift a lid and then hit a switch underneath that. And, it's also a bit overwhelming. So it's like, if I'm going to do that, I kind of feel like I'm going to have to commit. But a lot of that stuff works. The problem is like, well, that worked for the F-18. Then if I want to go fly a 787 Dreamliner, I'm going to want a yoke instead. And then it's like, okay, are we talking about having both and swapping them in every time I'm switching planes? I tell myself I might do that, but I probably won't actually commit to
how
swapping that
into
out.
Flight Simulator are you really gonna be? Right.
Right. Well, yeah.
Like, these investments worth it.
Exactly. And it's like, am I going to, I really enjoy playing the game. I want to spend more time with Flight Simulator. But it's like, I need to just recognize that it's probably okay to use the HOTAS I have and then use the mouse and keyboard to actually do all the in-game controls on the avionics and sort of like find that happy middle ground.
Another game that I brought this up for the last two Bombcasts actually, but I think this may be the last time I bring it up because I beat it. I absolutely am in love with Tactical Breach Wizards, folks.
Yeah, I could tell you're more and more you're into it.
I think this is a good year for funny games. On top of, thank goodness you're here. This handles like the writing aspect incredibly well. I've mentioned this before, but I know that I'm having a good time with a game, particularly a PC game, if I'm constantly hitting F12 and my screenshot folder is like absolutely filled with like funny little scenes. It's really good. I think the thing that is keeping this from like a 5 out of 5 game and brings us down to like maybe a 3.5 to a 4 is that it is not optimized at all for playing with a controller or playing on a Steam Deck. And like Into the Breach handles that transition from keyboard and mouse to controller incredibly well.
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
like we've gone to the point now where you can have a tactics game play completely fine, if not better, on a controller. I mean, look at Mario and Rabbids, whatever the game is called, I forget.
Kingdom Battle.
Sorry,
Kingdom Battle, and then the second one.
And then
Sparks of Hope.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
right. Sparks of Hope with your little Roomba friend. For Tactical Breach Wizards, on top of nailing the comedy aspect, I feel like they do a good job of doling out new abilities and new characters at the right time, where it can feel a little bit exhausting or you feel a little bit like powerless if you are rolling into encounters with only so many tools at your disposal. Here, like, they incentivize you to use all of your tools, even on just a singular turn. Like, by the time you get to the last act, you can wind up moving your characters 2-3 times and having them repeat actions and set up the board and completely clear the board of the enemies and objectives within that singular turn. And they try and incentivize that by adding these little confidence side objectives. And the neat thing is the game emphasizes to you throughout the whole time from the introduction of the confidence side objective is like, hey, you don't have to go for this. This is only if you find yourself like wanting a little bit of a challenge, you want a little bit of oomph, because all the confidence points gets you is just new fun little costumes. And they play really well on the relationships, the interpersonal relationships between your characters and even between your enemies as the story progresses. Another downside of the game that you can kind of brute force your way through is they do a Alan Wake style mind palace thing with the game in between some of the acts where, all right, you got to connect your characters to this location. And what's the motivation between this location and these like drugs and these drugs and then this gang and then this gang and then this other location? But what about these other drugs? But it's really freaking good, y'all.
Is the motivation always drugs are fun?
Drugs are fun and drugs are magical. And in this world, they actually are magical.
Oh, very fun.
And it's just so funny just seeing all the fantasy trappings used in a completely unserious way. And that resonates with me because I've never quite really been into fantasy. And, I'm going to say this, y'all. Mike, don't get too excited. Don't get too excited here. I've been watching Rings of Power. I've been really enjoying it.
I don't watch Rings of Power.
Let me
TV is
finish
mid.
this. Let me finish this. I've been watching Rings of Power, and I've been thinking about getting all the way into Lord of the Rings in fantasy.
Okay. Well, yeah, Lord of the Rings is
I
great.
went from space to maybe I like dwarves more.
You
Well,
talked a big game about
you can
getting
just
into
do regular
Star Trek
Warhammer.
though, and that didn't manifest at all. So I don't know.
Because I watched the Netflix
you
series
heard him.
and I couldn't find the easiest place to watch the old stuff because
Yeah.
I didn't want to get Paramount Plus. But the other thing, the game that I've been checked out, folks. There's a lot of stuff we can't talk about right now because of embargoes.
Sure.
But hold on, let me just type this out. I've been playing out, and this has been optimized in a much better way now for the Steam Deck. Is Marvel's Midnight Suns?
Oh man,
Okay.
you really have the tactics bug bad.
Yeah, I got the tactics bug bad, and like there's no tiles in this. There's just cards. Cards are kind of like tiles when you think about it. Man, Mahjong tiles? Is Mahjong a tile game?
Yes.
But
you handle the tiles.
Wow.
yeah, it's
I'm the tile.
tile handler.
You become the tile now.
Anyway, oh god,
Look at
I
me,
can't
look at
even
me. I'm
spell
the
this
tile
right.
now.
Midnight Suns.
Fix.
Fix.
I can't type Midnight Suns. Okay. Marvel's Midnight Suns completely slept on when it came out, and I feel like we have been on actually a good upswell of licensed games, particularly Marvel ones. Marvel's Avengers is hit or miss for some folks. The story's good, but the actual like gameplay, meh. But Marvel's Midnight Suns is a fantastic tactics game where if you want to explore the relationships with any of the Marvel characters and really have like a weird budding romance or bromance with some of the lesser known characters that aren't your big MCU characters like Iron Man or Captain America, and you want to maybe forlongingly stare at the moon with
Squirrel
Johnny
Girl.
Blaze. No Squirrel Girl,
Oh,
unfortunately.
I'm so sorry.
Maybe they've modded. Maybe you can find a mod for
you can do
Squirrel
whatever
Girl.
you want, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very Squirrel Girl of you. This is like such a solid tactics game that I feel like a lot of people slept on. This goes on sale a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And if you are kind of tired of the MCU-fication of Marvel and you want to just explore like the side weird stuff, like if you want a Blade game that's a good Blade game, or you want some cool representation of some of the other lesser known characters in Marvel, 100% check this out. Also, this is another game that encourages you to use tactics to kick people off of roofs, and that is
okay.
hilarious to me.
Yeah. Defenestration? Did I say it right this time?
Yes. Is it still defenestration if you kick someone off a roof?
Probably not. I think that is specifically through a window. I think.
Also, the other motivation for checking this out, folks, is yes, I'm feeling the swell, the positive swell of Agatha all along because of Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza. And folks, I am only human.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody who like maybe the only MCU show I watched all the way through was WandaVision. Maybe this one I can actually go back to or go to. And
Mike, I heard there's a musical episode.
I heard there's a butt.
A butt.
I heard there's a butt. Master
Okay.
Cheeks
Butt?
is back. Yeah, Master Cheeks butt
Wow.
is back. Yeah.
With the crack and everything.
With the whole crack. There's 2 cracks this time. NC-17.
Wow. Yeah, it
That's the
doesn't.
second
Nothing
time.
matters with streaming TV.
On the
You can just
tank.
go for it. Boyos, any other games you want to talk about?
No.
Loose ends you got to tie up, or
I have
or
a loose end.
grievances. Okay.
Oh,
I have a big loose end. Let's hash this out right now, Jeff.
Okay,
What is so confusing about this Kingdom Hearts costume?
guys.
Okay.
I am too sick to deal with this.
So I just like, there is a stand that Jan took a picture in front of with his friends that was Kingdom Hearts, and I'm like, why is it a Kingdom Hearts stand? And then you just said because Halloween, and that I don't, the connective tissue between that explanation and like me seeing the picture, I didn't understand. But you were just like, no, it's because it's so popular and people like it. You just said that to me. That's the latest explanation you gave to me. If that's the explanation, that is one I can accept.
So there is, because of the Oogie Boogie Halloween Bash, there are tons of pop-up photo opportunities that they put throughout the
Did
park.
not know that.
There you go. That was the missing piece. I don't know why I assumed you knew that part.
Okay, so there's a lot of these ones, and one of them happens to be Kingdom Hearts. That all like just pieces together. I get it now. That's fine.
We did it right at the end of the week.
Folks, it turns out you can settle arguments that spiral into multiple different
Shut up, Jan. It was way more fun to yell at each other, Mike. I like that better.
I'm sorry, my bad. I ruined it.
I'm just trying to teach people a lesson at home that maybe we could all get along if you just explain the context sometimes.
All right, if you're wondering what the context of this is, listen to the voicemail dump track.
You really should.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Top 10 episode, and I say that about every single episode because it's the truth.
It's always the truth. They always get
What's
knocked
making
down.
my camera shake like this so much? I've done nothing. I was like just moving my knee, and the camera's like, "Rrr," we don't like it.
I have mine mounted to the wall, so that would stop happening to me because I got a real bad case of the shaky legs.
Yeah, I got a new webcam coming tomorrow because this one's been dying, so I'm excited
I'm so
about that.
excited. I'm so excited.
It's gonna be so hot.
It's gonna be so hot. Folks, thank you for anyone else got any grievances they want to air?
No, but I am wondering, like, you guys have like an attack plan for a lot of these games coming out right now. Like,
oh boy, no.
I'm happy that we're doing the Space Marine 2 thing because I'm like, we're gonna want to go back to that, so I can like put that to the side of my free time, and I'll play that with Dan and Jan. That's great. But then like I did start Wild Bastards, and it did click with me. But I want to play UFO 50. Frostpunk 2 is calling at me real hard right now. There's that Death Sprint. That Death Sprint 66 looks really like up my alley. I'm probably not gonna go back to Plucky Squire.
Best that I can. The thing that is worrying me / hurting me the most is I don't know if I'm getting to like a dragon, and I felt bad about that since so many of you like, you know, you're really into it for like maybe Game of the Year stuff one. So maybe I have to, but like, you know, there's some other big RPGs happening with Dragon Quest, Dragon Age, all the dragons, Metaphor. It's like, man, that's a lot right there. I don't know if I'm gonna get through that and then play another 100-hour RPG before the year ends. I just don't really see that happening yet. But we'll see.
I'm excited and I'm curious about all those games y'all just listed. And on top of that, I might want to check out Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I want to play some of that. There's like so many characters. What character do you want to play as, Jan?
One of the Gokus.
Well, yeah. Which one? Are you a Super Instinct or whatever?
I kind of liked Dragon Ball Super for a little bit, but then all the Ultra Instinct stuff, it's like, guys, like let's quit it. Let's quit it.
It is too. I loved Z so much as a kid that part of me is like, I should just watch Super. It would be kind of fun.
Have you seen just regular OG Dragon Ball?
Yeah, OG Dragon Ball. Great.
Well, I watched it after Z, but I watched a lot of Dragon Ball at the time. I'm like, this is funny. I mean, there's a lot of perverted stuff, but I thought that was funny.
And as many characters there are in the game, there is only one OG Dragon Ball character, and it's Kid Goku. And it's like, you don't even have like Demon King Piccolo or I don't know, some Red Army goofs or whatever in here. It's kind
of God, I gotta play Lorelei and the Laser Eye. Oh my
shit.
God.
Yeah. I can't. I want to play a bunch of older stuff too. I felt guilty playing Midnight Suns when I could be playing something else that's like new. And
are either you gonna check out Dead Rising Deluxe Remastered?
Yes, absolutely. I think I want to wait till it's October 1st. Because,
sure.
like, you know,
you could stream it. That'd be a great one. People would really like that.
Yeah, there's a couple Halloween things I want to do because there's that. We're doing the Resident Evil 3 remake for the game club we have over at the Game Mess. And then I bought the Dreamcast version of Dino Crisis. I'd maybe like to do that. Now that's already like 3 games in 1 month on top of like everything else. That's kind of a lot. We'll see. But yeah, there's other remasters. Epic Mickey. Let's see that. I did beat Order of Ecclesia last night, so I am now pretty much done with the Dominus collection, which was very, very good. I like that a lot.
I think I may have to practice the most self-control I've ever had to practice and refrain from checking out Balatro on iOS.
Yeah.
Oh, that's big of you. That's big
because
of you.
It's going to end me. If this sickness doesn't, this will. Too many games. Every year I feel I forget where I was reading this recently, but of course it was on Twitter, so it's like a shitstorm take anyway. But someone was saying like, this is such a bad year for games. I'm like, motherfucker.
No.
If you looked at the calendar,
it's a skill issue.
Just because last year was like one of the best years ever, this has still been very good. I have never for a moment not had something to play.
It's been nonstop for me.
Yeah, and like for whatever flavor of gaming you like, there is something there.
Right. But I tell you what, if you like JRPGs, it has been especially good. But yeah, there's been tons
we
of stuff
eating
to
out
play.
here, baby.
We're doing good.
Last thing, I did fully like go up to like, I think Star Wars Outlaws is like a solid 4 out of 5 actual good game. Like
Okay.
There's another one. Damn it, I should.
One
play
that I'm like, I probably am gonna start maybe thinking I should recommend to people. Like, yeah, you want to get past the beginning. Apparently, they changed some stuff there, but if you just take your time in there, and actually don't even feel like you need to like play the story or like beat it. Just go actually in there and experience the world and hang out and do fun stuff and like do whatever is appealing to you. That's what I've been doing. And boy, they have atmosphere of the year. Maybe they nailed it. It is the most Star Wars thing in all the best ways.
Wow.
Last night really clicked hard for me.
Best game world.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe not.
Let's bring it back.
This is what I hate about Star Wars is that like I'll initially be put off, and then like a couple weeks after like the initial like shitstorm dies down, a trusted friend will say, you know what, I actually like it a lot. And that's every single Star Wars thing that's coming.
Yeah, that's the magic of Star Wars. Is like I think like I'm kind of like done with it, and then as soon as like I get a little taste of some good Star Wars, it's like ooh.
Oh god. And like, okay, last thing before we get out of here. Another thing I'm mildly curious about, because I saw Kit and Krista talking about this. Emio, the smiling man.
Yeah, Emio,
yeah.
Like I know it's like a visual novel joint, but like I could use a little Bagman.
That makes me think of like the Miles Edgeworth collection, which I want to play that, and I'm kind of just immediately like, maybe not happening this year, actually, as much as I want to play it.
Oh boy. Oh, okay. Grub, I swear to God, folks, this is the last thing, and then we'll get out of here. So Grub can set up for UPF because I'm gonna go hype myself up on.
Yeah, you need to rest.
Grub, you're gonna go on vacation soon. And I know that like it leaves like a hole in the morning content. Folks, I'm gonna commit to it. Grub, when are you leaving?
It would be the week before Thanksgiving. So in November, like 24-ish, I want to say 24th-ish.
Okay, folks, that's gonna be 14 week. It's gonna be
you're playing
14
Final
week.
Fantasy 14?
Yep. I'm still deciding whether or not to go with my existing character or just start fresh. My existing character has an unfortunate name because of an extra life incentive. It is Ligma Grundle.
Is it a bunny girl?
Yes, it is.
Of course. Stupid question.
So it's either we go with Ligma or we start fresh. A friendship.
I'm already
reward.
pretty attached to Ligma.
All right. Well, I guess.
What's your job for Ligma?
I forget. I think I wanted to be a dragoon really bad or something.
Oh, so you're probably a lancer right now until you get to
I think I am a lancer. I am a lancer.
In New Gridania. Okay.
Yeah. I forget where I am, so I'd have to like re-onboard myself. And folks, gonna try and do it during the Game S morning slot, so we get at least like an hour, 2 hours of 14 a day. I can't say I won't play off stream, but we're gonna commit to it. That will be 14 week. And folks, get ready. Infrastructure week is coming.
Infrastructure week at the very end of the month.
When you get to dungeons, you gotta let me know. I'll hop in there.
Yeah. I'm gonna let people like carry me the hell through this game. I'm ready.
It'll be easy. It's fine. It's not difficult, especially Realm Reborn. You'll be fine.
Folks, thank you for joining us. It's been a lovely week. We're going to end it with a bang with UPF later.
Chad, real quick, if you want to throw a game that maybe you want to see us play from a grab bag on UPF, throw it in the chat right now, and maybe I'll put it into a poll.
I still need you cowards to face me in Marvel, baby.
Play some Marvel.
We got to do that. Yep. Folks, thank you for joining us. Thank you to Tam for telling us about Dragon Age. Thank you to Jeff Grubb. Thank you to Mike Minotti. Thank you to everyone here at GBHQ. And hey, shouts out to Scout. Her birthday is tomorrow, and she's turning 2.
Scout.
We'll see you next week for another episode of the Giant Bombcast.
Trying to do happy birthday didn't happen.
I appreciate the effort, Mike Minotti.
Sorry, Scott, your birthday's ruined. Oh, this is it. This is the big one.
The Giant Bombcast is brought to you by you, the folks at home. why don't you go thumbs up a random Giant Bomb video? And while you're at it, go read an article that Mike Minotti wrote on GamesBeat. And while you're at it, go subscribe to Jeff's Game Mess. And while you're at it, go say hi to Christian from Argentina. That's it. Don't do anything else with Christian. Just say hi to him.
Say hi to him.
Just say hi to him. He needs it. And you know what? Like, go for a walk in the park. Go for a walk in the park. Don't stare at the sun, because you might need sunglasses if you're a weak person. I'm not joining Mike Minotti on this front. And maybe go instead of
weak person. You just
get rid of the clothes. Get rid of the clothes that are sticking up in your closet. You know, you don't need that jacket that is out of style. Perhaps donate it. Donate it.
The slurricane.
I can't even make rap sounds. I'm dying.
Rock. I am Hercules Mulligan.
No. Oh, God, that is the whitest thing you've ever done.